gain over the last year in his wealth. A gain. So I've been on a salary stepped schedule for 30 years. You know, the next year I get a little bit more and a little bit more, and that's just kind of automatic. It's never been $22 billion in a year for a step. And it's interesting, I was thinking about props to pull out. You know, I could pull out some money, I don't want to distract you, or my charge card, and it's an Amazon rewards card. So I am contributing to the wealth of Jeff Bezos, and I personally benefit from my involvement with this man and his business. As far as I know, it's all lawful, it's beneficial, mutual exchanges are going on, and he has grown wealthy from our interaction. I'm fascinated with the company, Amazon, with their use of drone technology to deliver packages. So sometimes God's common grace just flows down on people that don't even know him, and he's gifted them with acumen and a sense of management, research and development, personnel, distribution, save everything that it takes to become rich and bless other people. So I'm going to share the bias with you that some of these people have developed technologies and services that bless millions of people, and they've gotten rich from doing it, and I can't condemn that. Can't condemn that. The richest men in 2019, the present age has advanced. So we know that Jeff Bezos, he was second at the time, but his increase was the top, $22 billion in 1 year. So this is 2019, I couldn't resist. So Jeff Bezos is worth $122 billion now, up about $30 billion from 2017, an average of $15 billion of increase per year. Now, so we're talking rich here. An amazing amount of money. I knew a fellow once who was in our Bible study locally, and he was just a regular guy, and I forget his job, maybe it was landscape maintenance or something. And his father in the Klamath Basin was in the timber industry and owned a lot of land. And when he died, his estate went to Mike, this man. And suddenly Mike had more money than he knew what to do with. They had to donate money, so he said he started going to board meetings, and they had $9 million I think it was $9 million, that they needed to somehow give away, or they would simply lose it to taxes. And so some of the conflict was, so who do we give it to? And so Mike was a new Christian, and so he was favoring, well, what if I give it to Christian charities? And so sometimes you have more money than you know what to do with. Well, Paul would say, you're going to see in this text, there are things that you can do with your money that will bless other people. Not to say that these guys are not blessing their distributors, their consumers, etc. But they have more money than they know what to do with. And so they have to somehow move it around. It was fascinating when Andy mentioned, so what about ministers who receive the blessings of income and they're blessing other people? Oftentimes we hear critical comments about, well, a pastor is supposed to be destitute and simply trusting in the Lord for his provision. He's not a best-selling author, so most of these people gained their wealth because they've got quite a following. They write books, they're speakers, they inspire people, they build empires, schools, television stations, publication networks, etc., and they've gained quite a bit of wealth. So let's take a look at who these folks are. I've got a few of them. So Kenneth Copeland has a net worth of $760 million. Now, compared to the $100 billion, it's nothing. It's like, sand in your child's sandbox, like one little grain. Every million is a grain of sand. He lives in a $6 million home, and he has a $17.5 million jet. Now, clearly, Kenneth would read 1 Timothy 6 and say, Paul's talking to the rich in Ephesus at the time, he's talking to me in America today. He'd identify himself as the rich. Okay? Maybe not you yet. Joel Osteen has a net worth of $40 million. He lives in a $10.5 million home. Are you thinking right now what your home is worth? Is that entering your mind at all? So he lives in a $10.5 million home. Creflo Dollar, net worth of $27 million, has 3 multi-million-dollar homes, 2 Rolls Royces, and a private jet. He must need them. You might be surprised at some of the other people that show up on this list who have been blessed, who have acquired material wealth. So this was, Billy Graham died in February of 2018, so this is talking about him in the past. His net worth was $25 million, also a best-selling author and in charge of ministry. Don't know how much his home was valued at. And I'll quote Billy, "Our world is obsessed with success. But how does God define success? Success in God's eyes is faithfulness to His calling." And most commentators and biographers would say that Billy was faithful to his calling. And if God blessed him with a $25 million estate worth, then so be it. No criticism from me. Here's another gentleman in the final that I'll mention. Rick Warren has a net worth of $25 million also, and is known as a reverse tilter. I'd never seen this before. I thought reverse tither, but no, that's what it said in the article. Reverse tilter. He tithes 90% and lives on 10%. Quote, "I drive a 12-year-old Ford, have lived in the same house for the last 22 years, bought my watch at Walmart, yay, so did I, and I don't own a boat or a jet." I wonder if he has a travel trailer. 92 travel trailer, which I just discovered has dry rot in the floor. Rats. But I'm still rich, I tell you. I'm rich. If you want to fill in the blank, I have this for you. There's an adage that I've passed on to you before from another pastor. It's not what you know. When we talk about doctrine, it's not just what you know, it's what you do with what you know. Because we can get smart about what the texts of Scripture say and what the doctrines are, what the creeds and confessions are of the church through the history. But really, when it gets right down to it, it's not that you know them. It's what you do with what you know. It's not that you know that God exists. It's what you do with your relationship with God and how He motivates you to praise Him and serve Him. The same is true with our riches and our treasure. It's not what you have. It's not your wealth. It's what you do with what you have. It's what you do with what your wealth that really defines you. Okay? Disagree with me if you want, but I think that Paul has included this perspective in his letter to Timothy and to the church in Ephesus. He warns. He tells Timothy to warn the rich. Charge them not to be haughty, nor to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches. We're going to just look at that. To be haughty means to be kind of high and mighty, stuck up. I don't need you because I have all I need in my wealth. I can be independent and self-sufficient. Stuck up, snooty about it. Okay? I have my own personal mechanic. I don't have to crawl under my car to change the oil or, turn any lug nuts, that kind of a thing. And what can happen, not always, but what can happen is that you feel superior to those folks that are fixing their own car. So the warning to the rich is don't be haughty about it. Beware a smug, self-sufficient, materialistic attitude and outlook. Andy used this picture last week, and I dwelled on it for a moment. I thought, okay, this guy is smug. He's showing off. Cash is insignificant to me. I can burn whatever that is. Is that a Franklin? Is that a 20? He's burning 100 to light a cigar, to indulge in something that's not very sanitary or healthful even. Okay? He's showing off. That's called conspicuous consumption. Anybody ever read The Great Gatsby? I think I read that in college or something. Some people are just conspicuous. They're showing off their wealth. And sometimes people feel like, I'm showing off God's blessing. I'm wealthy, therefore God has blessed me. You're not wealthy, therefore God has not blessed you. Who's the best? Who's the greatest? So Paul is saying, charge the rich to not be haughty or high-minded. Why is the Bible so critical of riches? Let's do some review here. You've heard this before, but let's go back and review. Proverbs 23, 4-5. Do not toil to acquire wealth. Be discerning enough to desist. That means to restrain yourself from toiling to acquire it. When your eyes light on it, it is gone, for suddenly it sprouts wings, flying like an eagle toward heaven. Some have said that money talks. It says goodbye, farewell.